Good day, gentlemen. Dirk here with the MGTOW solution. There's no end to potential MGTOW topics, and I'm going to quickly run down a few of them here. As always, these are just my ideas and opinions. Chapter 9, MGTOW Miscellaneous. The umbrella term MGTOW covers a lot of ground, delving into psychology, philosophy, politics, sociology, economics, and many other aspects of humanity. There's no way to cover it all in a single book, but this chapter will focus on a few issues that I hope will prove useful. Voting rights in the U.S. Many MGTOW believe that women being granted the right to vote was the first step in the rise of feminism and concurrent demise of society. That may be, but does anyone expect that the right to vote will ever revert back exclusively to men? Not likely. But here's what may be an even better idea. Temporarily suspend the right to vote for any citizen who is receiving public assistance in any form, regardless of gender. This way, career welfare cases wouldn't be able to vote to maintain their own entitlements. It just so happens that the majority of these cases would be women, but that's not the point. The point is that if you're not contributing to society, then you should have no say in how that society operates. Once you get back to work, you can vote again. Currently, you forfeit your right to vote if you don't register for selective service, even if you work and pay taxes. And we know that this law only applies to men. Yet, if you're a non-tax-paying deadbeat living off welfare, you can still vote. Perhaps we should temporarily suspend that right to discourage making welfare a viable long-term career option. This would do a few things. For one, it would provide an incentive for people to work for a living instead of leeching off of taxpayers. For another, it would reduce women's impact on elections, given the preponderance of women on welfare. As a bonus, it would also cut down on disruptive and violent protests, because those protesters would have to go to work instead of playing social justice warrior all day. This seems fair and logical, but it'll probably never fly for two reasons, both based upon principles of gynocentrism. First, nobody cares if men lose the right to vote, as in the selective service example. Second, it would be unacceptable for women to lose the right to vote under any circumstances. Prostitution. As ludicrous as this sounds, Canada passed a law in 2014 making it legal to be a prostitute, but illegal to hire one. That's right, you can sell sex, but you can't buy sex. So, in the case of a transaction between a prostitute and a man, he's breaking the law while the whore isn't. Maybe if I were Canadian, I'd understand this. It makes about as much sense as making it legal to sell alcohol, but illegal to buy it. In the U.S., prostitution is illegal for both parties, with the exception of Nevada. When people agree to this transaction, we have a true victimless crime. The man is being deprived of a service he's willing to pay for, and the woman is being deprived of her right to earn a living. Nobody else is even involved, making such laws pointless. It would be no different to make it illegal to hire someone to mow your lawn. In some countries, prostitution is legal and regulated, and that system seems to work. Doing the same thing here would offer several benefits, including potential tax revenue for the state. It seems to me that there's a huge potential to not only grant men and women their right to freedom, but to stimulate the economy as well. You could tax it, the same way other services are taxed. I suspect that this would be a booming industry if the laws were changed. What's stopping it? Women who feel that having this option would make men less likely to get married. They may be right, but so what? It's not the government's place to coerce men into marriage. If a woman wants to get married, let her earn that privilege. Marriage is not a right. If she's worried about having some competition, perhaps she should put a little effort into being marriage material. For example, don't be a fat, lazy, greedy, screeching harpy. A pay-as-you-go model would be much more economical for men, and women know it, so they're opposed to the idea. The potential financial gains for marriage and divorce are too great for women to give up. You could argue against prostitution on moral grounds, but then you're forcing one's personal or religious beliefs upon others, which is prohibited under the Constitution. It's really nobody's damn business what two consenting adults agree to. Rape culture. Let me preface this section by stating that I believe rapists should have their balls cut off. This is a hot-button topic, and we're supposed to believe that rape is now at epidemic proportions. Statistics are cited, supposedly demonstrating an upward trend in the incidence of female rape perpetrated by men. However, the term rape has been redefined. Now, a woman can get drunk, have consensual sex, change her mind retroactively the next day, and then report being raped. They can even make the same claim if they were sober, resulting in false rape charges. They can also change their minds in the middle of sex, and if you don't pull out fast enough for her, she can charge you with rape. These cases are included in the stats, making it appear that the incidence of rape is on the upswing, hence the term rape culture. However, it's really more of a false rape culture. It's gotten so bad that some men have taken to using concealed audio and video recorders to document the female's consent, just in case. Having personally been the victim of a false rape allegation, I can attest to the fact that there's no way to know if a woman will do this. The woman in my case was friendly, nice, and appeared completely sane. I never saw it coming. Nothing came of it because she was lying, but this was a long time ago. Today, the outcome might be different. The fact is that women have the power, so you need to be careful. It's sad that we need to employ James Bond spy gadgets to cover our asses, but fooling around with women these days is dangerous. There's actually a growing market for hidden camera devices precisely to address this issue. If we're going to address rape culture, perhaps we should include the statutory rape of boys by grown women, very often female teachers and their male students. This is becoming commonplace. These women are not prosecuted to the same extent as when the tables are turned. A 30-year-old man having sex with a 15-year-old girl is in deep shit compared to a 30-year-old woman fucking a 15-year-old boy. There have also been cases of statutory rape of boys where the woman got pregnant and the boy ended up paying child support once he turned 18. Yet another obvious double standard. It's no wonder that many men are going into MGTOW monk mode. The risks of sex used to just be STDs and pregnancy. Now we have to weigh the prospect of being brought up on criminal charges and sent to prison. In a he said, she said situation, who do you think the courts will side with in this day and age? The bottom line is that so-called rape culture represents an increase in men being charged with rape, not an actual increase in the incidence of rape. Socialization of boys. Modern classrooms and curriculum are gynocentric. Mostly women staff them, so this isn't surprising. Think about it. Who's better at sitting still all day, girls or boys? Girls. Boys have much higher energy levels, so when you stick them behind a desk and tell them not to even fidget, you've created a problem. But the problem isn't that there's something wrong with the boys. There's not. They've just been put into a situation where they're expected to adapt to conditions that are contrary to their nature. I mean, we don't force girls onto a football field and insist they be aggressive, do we? Why do we do something similar in the case of boys? When they don't adapt to this environment, they get labeled as having behavioral problems, and this has led to the current overdiagnosis of ADHD. The boys are often medicated as a result, leading to still other problems. What's the solution? Adapt the classroom to the needs of boys as well as girls. One simple fix that's being explored is the use of stand-up workstations, and this shows great promise. Just being able to stand up and move around a bit appears very beneficial to both sexes, but especially boys. Ensuring adequate breaks for physical activity would also help. Having high energy levels is not a medical condition, but many teachers feel justified in diagnosing ADHD, even though they lack the credentials to do so. And doctors go along with this. The problem is epidemic, and the solution is not to medicate kids to make them more manageable. It's to stop insisting that boys and girls are the same, and that therefore boys should be able to adapt to an environment that's better suited to girls. Boys will be boys. Accept it. Men's rights activists. Whatever you think of her, Cassie J made a good point when she described MRAs as wanting to change the system and MGTOW as wanting to leave the system. Given that both groups are focused on the problems with women, there is some overlap between the two, but they are two different outlooks. To illustrate the differences, allow me to provide an analogy. Let's say you have a boat, with the boat representing society. And let's say it's an old, broken-down boat that's been subjected to a number of poorly conceived upgrades that don't work as planned. There are lots of patches on the hull, rusty fittings, and other signs of disrepair. Over the years, incompetent people have continually modified the boat in an attempt to make it better. Maybe the engine was swapped out for something smaller to get better fuel economy, but now the boat is totally underpowered and slow, plus the engine always overheats. Maybe someone changed the propeller for a bigger one, thinking that'll make the boat faster, but all it does is overwork the engines even further. Maybe a bunch of electrical appliances were installed, and now the generator can't keep up. These modifications represent feminism. All of this adds up to a totally worthless boat. It doesn't perform well, barely floats, and would cost a lot to repair and maintain. MGTOW won't purchase such a vessel. We'll look at it, realize how hopeless it is, and walk away. If this is the only boat available, we'll probably go invest in something else, like maybe a new four-wheel drive truck. The truck, in this case, represents the freedom brought by MGTOW. Back at the dock, MRAs look at the same boat and see potential. They hold on to the dream of having a nice boat. They believe this boat is worth fixing up, and so will purchase it and set about working on all the things that are wrong in the hope that one day they'll enjoy smooth sailing. But every time they fix something, something else breaks. At the same time, people keep sneaking aboard and making more asinine modifications, creating entirely new problems. This is feminism. Still, the MRA presses on, convinced he can persevere. Personally, I'd rather be driving that new truck. I have no problem with MRAs. Live and let live. I just think they're wasting their time. And that wraps up Chapter 9. The manosphere is loaded with MGTOW miscellaneous topics, and that's part of what makes this lifestyle so useful. You can learn about things that you're interested in that'll improve your quality of life. And this community is about the only place you can explore different topics from the viewpoint of a liberated man. Almost everything else is contaminated with blue pill ideology. I've never actually taken a gender studies course, so I could be wrong, but I kind of doubt they include red pill perspectives. You'll learn much more about the real world from a free 10-minute MGTOW video than you will in any college course offered these days. Keep learning, gentlemen, and then share your knowledge with others. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.